How are you?
I'm great now. Thanks for having me. I'm a little bit behind on free agency and the draft because we are immersed in this head coaching process. So I have a lot of catching up to do, but really happy to get Coach Harbaugh here.
You're ahead of some of the others though, because they don't even have their coaches yet.
Yeah.
You actually, I think, nailed this in so many ways. From obviously Chris and John and Steve with the process of getting John Harbaugh in the building, getting an interview with him, and I think he kind of wanted it. It feels like that. But tell us how this thing came about so quickly and cohesively.
Yeah, when we started the process several weeks ago, once when we moved on from Dave's, we started doing research on a lot of coaches. Then you start hearing rumblings, so you go several different ways. Some coaches that you can hire, and then there's some rumors of coaches that may be let go. So we did a lot of research. We were expecting maybe some of the unexpected, and Coach Harbaugh was one we had heard rumors of. Maybe he'll come free, maybe he won't.
Right.
Coach Tomlin, some of those things. So we set up our process. We started interviewing right away. We did Kafka on Monday after the season, and then Stefanski on Tuesday. So Wednesday. So we were prepared. We were ready to interview. We had a very detailed process. We had done a lot of research already because of the runway that we had leading up to the end of the season, and it worked out that we were the first club on Coach Harbaugh's dance card, and we didn't let him leave the building.
Right. Is that one of the reasons that it was beneficial to move on from Dave's in the middle of the season?
Yeah, it's hard to find a lot of positives in that, but that would be one. You don't have to sit in your office doing research and you're worried about somebody coming in and you got a Thursday press conference, somebody, or you're Googling, or you're on the phone about another coach. So that would be the only positive, that you do get ahead. Everybody knows you have a head coaching opening. You get a chance to talk to the agents. You get a chance to do research on a lot of football coaches.
Looking back on the Davis firing before we move ahead, it appeared like that was an ownership decision. So did it take you by surprise? And when you're told, is there pushback? Like, how does that discussion occur when that goes down in the middle of the season?
Yeah, it was a decision that was made, and at the end of the day, we hadn't won enough games, and it was very difficult because he's he's really one of my good friends, professionally and personally, and we worked together for a long time. So it was a difficult situation. It was tough to handle, but within about a 20-minute period, we had to move on. Hey, Kafka, we got a team meeting. We got to address the staff. Like, it was a little bit of a whirlwind, but Dave's still really one of my good friends. We FaceTime, we talk. We still stay in touch. And I know he's going to do well wherever he ends up.
How, and explain to all of us, because I have no idea, what the structure was like with Brian Daboll and you, and what this new structure is going to be like now with John Harbaugh and you.
It's really no different than anywhere I've been. I mean, it's, like you said, anything that's on the piece of paper, it doesn't matter. The only way it's going to work is for us to get together. And regardless where you are, you and the head coach have to be on the same page. You're not going to agree on everything. That's healthy to have disagreements and talk through that stuff. So, we're aligned in how we want the team to look and how we're going to build it. And again, I'm looking forward to putting the staff together and then, getting on to free agency and the draft.
Yeah, one of the things that was asked in the presser was about Jaxson Dart and how important he was being here. It's all quarterbacks, coaches. It's not all quarterbacks and coaches, you know that. But it feels like that's the talking point that leads discussions. How important was Jaxson Dart playing and having success for John Harbaugh?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the important part. When these coaches are looking for their jobs, a lot of times they go ownership, quarterback, like ownership, quarterback, like that's the most important. And Jaxson played well this year. He did a good job. It was nice to hear when the candidates did come through that they talked about some of the other players on the team. Obviously, Jaxson was important, but they did see a young core, a good nucleus. Again, Charlie Bullen did a good job with our defense down the stretch. We were 10th in the league over those 5 weeks. Right. So I do think there's pieces on the defensive side of the ball and some guys on offense that was attracted to a lot of these candidates and to get their view of the roster when they came in to interview.
A question about just the roster. It feels like at certain points this season, the guys felt unprepared is I guess the word I'm going to use to succeed. Not X's and O's wise, but the mentality it took. Listening to John Harbaugh talk about we're opting into being great. Why not? It's all football. It's no other BS. It's just football. Yep. Was that an important trait? And is that what this locker room needs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And he just throughout the interview process and how he talked about culture, and you could feel his leadership, you could feel his energy. He had a plan. Like, again, he talked about culture. How do you bring that to life? You ask people that, how do you bring it to life? And just who he is as a leader, the importance of the details, the preparation, being ready, and loving football. It's a lot easier to create that culture when everybody in the building loves football and has a common goal.
Obviously, the Giants have a lot of free agents to be. You know, when you think of Wan'Dale Robinson, Flott, Illuminor, have you had any conversations yet about what John Harbaugh thinks of these players currently with expiring contracts?
That'll be this week. We'll get into it. We had some talks on the the plane about the roster and who's free agents, and it's again, okay, well, how are you going to utilize these players? What's the plan? And what does that look like from a financial in terms of when you're, how you're allocating your resources financially? If we're not going to use this type of player in this role, should we allocate those somewhere else? So once we get the coordinators in here, figure out the systems, how we're going to utilize the players, then we'll identify who we want to bring back and at what price.
We're talking to Joe Schoen, general manager of the New York Giants. We did this segment like a month ago where we all graded your work as GM. Full transparency, I didn't give you a good
By the way, he heard it.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear it? What I give you? Do you remember what I gave you? It's like a D.
Nah, I mean, the problem is I'm not on social media, but I'm on Instagram for like family, friends, and stuff, and this stuff pops up now for no reason.
I apologize for that popping up in your face.
Yeah.
How would you, forget my grade or anyone out there's grade, how would you grade the job you've done as general manager of the New York Giants?
It's not good enough because the wins and losses. That's ultimately what I'm graded upon, and it hasn't been good enough. And, honestly, you got to have a quarterback. We just talked about it. And you got to have a head coach. You came out of year one, you had a coach of the year, and Daniel had played well. We set up the contract where it was a 2-year deal. And, hey, let's see if this young man that does everything the right way, can do it. And unfortunately, that decision didn't work out. It wasn't the process. The results aren't what we wanted, but the process, I look back at that a lot. So then it was time, okay, hey, we got to hit the reset button. At some time, we're going to have to find a quarterback. And while we're waiting to find that quarterback, let's continue to build the roster. We traded for Burns. We got Malik Neighbors. So we upgraded the offensive line with Jermaine Illuminor. GVR played well for us. We brought in Runyon. And, we drafted Abdul. So we kept adding pieces. So if we got to a moment like this, John Harbaugh would want to come here and coach this roster.
Right.
Or when we drop a Jaxson Dart in there, he can function with the pieces that we have around, and he can stay on his feet. And we went, from 30th in offense to 13th with 3 quarterbacks this year, and no Malik Neighbors. So there's some pieces in place. Is it perfect right now? The wins and losses, I get it. But we continue to try to build the roster so when we got to this moment, it would be attractive to either it was a free agent quarterback. I mean, Russell Wilson decided to come here. Again, a lot of these guys don't hit the market, but he wanted to come here because some of the pieces that were in place. And then same thing with Coach Harbaugh. So as tough as the times were, and we were going through it, I mean, trust me, we were going through it. We were trying to continue to slowly but surely add key pieces to the roster. So when we get to this point, it would be attractive to, a quarterback or a head coach if Dabes wasn't here or whoever. And, here we are, and we got to continue to build. Like, we got to continue to hit and build through the draft and free agency, and that's my expectations, and we'll do that.
The reality is you faced a lot of heat. A lot of people have called for you to go out the door with Dabes, and I think explaining it the way that you just did it's a reset in real time. You kind of get credit, or you don't get the brunt of the ire for that internally. Externally you do, but internally you don't. But the coach does. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I know if I wasn't here, I could look myself in the mirror and said I did the franchise right.
Right.
Like, I wasn't. I said it before. I'm
not
going
to the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a Hail Mary. I'm not going to put us. I inherited we were $40 million over the cap and had to cut players to get underneath it. We only signed 3 or 4 players the first year, but I wasn't going to do that. I have too much respect for the organization. I have too much respect for the fan base. Let's just keep our head down. Let's keep working, and let's keep building the roster so we can win long-term and build something that's sustainable. And that's what I'm tasked with. And, again, whether I was going to be here or not, I can't control that.
Right.
But that's what we continue to do, and that's what we'll continue to do moving forward. And, now's when the fun starts. You have a quarterback that's played well, and he's on a rookie contract, and you can really build around him.
You know what would have been more fun for you? And I don't know what you're supposed to do about this. If you lose one more game, you pick a number 1 overall. And you're probably, I'll be perfectly honest, ripping my favorite team off, the New York Jets, by getting 18 first-round picks for the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I know there's no tanking, or at least, actually, I don't want to ask that. Is there tanking? Was there ever a thought of, I love these guys, we're better off losing. It makes your job easier, which it does.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. We'll figure it out. I mean, my job was hard last year. we could it would have been easy to have the number 1 pick, and maybe you take a quarterback at number 1, but it wasn't. We were picking at number 3.
But when you're watching the last game of the year, is there not a part of you saying, "I hope we lose" for that reason?
No. And
You never hope to lose.
Jaxson Dart, like all the young, like Abdul, you saw him address the team. Like, we got to learn how to win. And these young guys haven't been here very long, and it's important for them to win and to go out and beat the Dallas Cowboys. Like, we were up at halftime versus their starters, okay, and we won a game out there in Vegas. So again, it's important. We can carry this momentum into the offseason. We got a new head coach. There's going to be a new staff. These young guys are hungry to win, and we're looking to turn this thing around.
You had said at the bye week presser, I think you ended it by saying, we're confident we could fill the job. Boy, did you spike the ball in everybody's face here with John Harbaugh. I would have doubted that. When you made those comments and you think about the list you were putting together, were you surprised when John Harbaugh became available?
Yeah, again, you always hear rumors, like it may happen, it may not. I mean, even at, Buffalo, I was shocked yesterday, but there were I think people were reporting on that. Mike Tomlin, there were reports of that throughout the year. So you try to follow. I mean, Matt LaFleur, there were, then he just signed an extension, I believe. So you're kind of following the tea leaves to see if there's anything there and paying attention to it as you're going through the process. And we did that. But yeah, again, because of those things, I thought this would be attractive. It's still the New York Giants. We have phenomenal ownership. We had a young, rookie quarterback that played well. You got a left tackle. You got a number 1 receiver. You got 2 good young backs, and you got rushers. And that stood out to me watching football. Coach Harbaugh and I were texting this weekend. What stands out, watching these games? Well, Houston's got a really good defensive line.
Right.
Denver can get after people. New England was getting after Houston. So, it's important, and, we have some of those pieces in place, to be able to play January football if we get the opportunity to get there.
When you miss on a first-round pick, you're not the only one who does it. Everybody misses on first-round picks. Do you think that sometimes you and others hold on to first-round picks too long when it's clear, like Deontay Banks? I hate to pick on him, but I'll be blunt, that a guy like that continues to get opportunities because of where he was picked instead of saying, you know what, for whatever reason, this didn't work. Evan Neal, let's just move on.
Yeah, and I hear you on Tate Banks, but he wasn't a starter this year. Flott was. So as a backup corner, that's a kick returner. Take away that he was taken. I hate, do I wish he'd have played a little bit better? Yeah, he played good his rookie year. Right. He showed us he can do it. That was Wink's scheme. That was more scheme specific. Some of these guys, you switch schemes, and maybe it's a little bit harder for them to adjust that. But as a depth corner that also has kickoff return ability, I get it. He's the 25th pick, and you expect him to be a starter, but there's still value on the team, and I'm not giving up on Tay. He's got all the physical ability in the world. He's big, he's strong, he can play physical at the line of scrimmage, and he might be a Pro Bowl kick returner a year from now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I had this thought that if the Giants let him go, because he's only 24.
Yeah.
It's not like he's 26 and been a bust for 5 years. He's 24 years old, and he's ridiculously athletic.
Yeah.
But he needed to mature. And he could mature someplace else and be elite. Where are we at as far as looking at this year's draft? There's needs that we know. Cornerback was one. I think wide receiver is another. Where are you looking in the draft? Linebacker, obviously, as well.
Yeah, you can look at our – who our free agents are and where we may have some holes. The right side of the offensive lines, they're free agents. To add more explosive players that can help us score touchdowns. You can point there. And then, defensively, we'll have to make some decisions there. Secondary corner, you mentioned that, linebacker. So we'll look. Micah McFadden's up. We'll see what we can do with him. Unfortunately, he got hurt early in the season. So, we're going to get in a room here over the next week, Coach Harbaugh and I and his staff, and really dig into what we have and, what they think we need and, find players that'll fit their scheme and, again, try to win more games next year.
Right. Last one for me before we let you go here. Your contract is up in a year. Where are you in talks with the Giants as far as your future?
Like I said earlier with the roster, man, you go through it. I'm focused on what I control, and that's this roster and forging this relationship with Coach Harbaugh, and we're going to do this together. And I'm excited to work with Coach Harbaugh. He worked one of the best to ever do it, and Ozzie Newsome. So I'm sure he's going to bring some knowledge to me from Ozzie, who I certainly look up to, and Eric DeCosta's done a good job. So that's really what I'm focused on, having a really good offseason. We're going to attack free agency first and then turn our focus to the draft. And, again, I'm just looking forward to this partnership and getting the New York Giants back.
Harbaugh in your check box is a massive one. That's like a humongous check in your box.
Hall of Fame coach and a quarterback. That's a good place to start.
Playoffs next year?
I'm not making any predictions. Doesn't matter what I say. We got to go out and do it.
Don't let the jet troll get
It's a fair question.
Wait, no.
John said it. Coach John Harbaugh
More
said
important, healthy kicker every game next season.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, how about Ben Sauls down the
love
stretch?
Ben Sauls. Saul's good, man.
Balled out. Yeah, Sauls did a great job down the stretch. So, Yeah, between the multiple punters the last couple of years
Yeah.
and kickers, some of the stuff you can't make up when you're in my position, but you just got to keep rolling with the punches and find the next man up.
I love it.
We appreciate it. Joe Schoen, GM of the Giants, thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for
Joe.
coming on.
All right, thanks, guys.
We appreciate it. We'll
you
talk
having
to
me.
Coach John Harbaugh in a few minutes. It's Evan and Tiki here on The Fan.